So today we are talking about cyber risk management in practice. My name is Mahmoud El-Shahawy. I am a cyber matter expert at iExpert, subject matter expert at iExpert. What we will talking about today, what is cybersecurity, 5 phases for our risk management framework, risk identification, prioritizing, and case studies, tools, and questions in the last of event. I am Mahmoud El-Shahawy. I am subject matter expert at iExperts. That is, I am around 15 years of management service I am dealing with. First of all, what is the cyber risk? Cyber risk is always a potential loss or something that can affect our company. It can be a threat or a vulnerability and the impact multiplying by them. We will understand all of that in the next slides. We have a top threat landscape in 2025-2026. It is talking about ransomware, AI-powered phishing, supply chain, cloud misconfiguration, and insider threats. All of that, we will talking about the most threat and how we will dealing with and the control. So what is the 5 phases of cyber risk management cycle? If we have a cyber risk in our company, what we will do to affect it? First of all, I am really sorry for what has been happened. So that is we will start with the 5 phases of cyber risk management cycle. We have to identify our risk. We must understand the risk. So that is when one of our main question, how I will understand that is I have a risk. First, we will go to any framework we have or any standards we have, we will go to guide us. Second, we will interview the people we have so that is we can understand the risks we have in our company. After that, we are measuring the risk. Measuring our risk, it can be by likelihood or by business impact. And we will discuss later in this session how we have doing that. Then we will prioritize the risk. So after prioritize it, to know what will be more harmful for our company and how we will can affect it. Then after that we make the treatment and the control we will adding in our company. And in the next slides, I will show you how to make the controls. After that, we have the monitoring. We must have a Excel sheet or monitoring or dashboard or something like that we have in the company so that is we can monitoring the risk in our companies. So we, as I have told you, and here we have the main questions you can ask yourself to make understand the framework of any risk you have. What do we have? What could go wrong? So we have an asset inventory. This asset inventory, we will ask ourselves, what do we have or what could be wrong? Then we have the assets. How likely or how bad it can affect us. Then we prioritize it. Then we treat it. And after that, we add our monitor. So to have an risk registers very identified and very clear, we must something like we have asset informations. And our assets always include 4 categories: the data, technology, people, process. Here we have the risk scoring matrix. The first and the simplest way to make your risk score is the risk scoring matrix. We have the likelihood multiplying by the impact. So as I told you, the first thing you must go and see and learn, we have 6 main places that is we can go and get our risk registers so that is we can see if this risk is valid on our company or not. We have micro tech, industry ISACA, vendor advisors, regulatory notification, internal incident history, and the dark web monitoring. Let me say that is all of that is found in something like called iBrand protection that is I am used mainly by myself to make the risk in our company. After that, how we have and how we make the cyber risk assessment. We have 2 types. We can do any risk, qualitative and quantitative. Scoring-based assessment, as we have seen in the previous slide, or depending on the financial calculation. So that is someone will ask me here when we use that and where we use that. If you are talking with the upper management, the CEOs, or the head of the companies, you must give it a clearly financial calculation so that is he can give you the budget, can affect or can handle you and reduce and giving you the controls that is can helping you reducing that risk. And also we have scoring-based assessment that is for our technical people, for our people and employees that is can help us to having a scoring-based that is can affect us. As we have, this is the 2 methods, qualitative and quantitative methods. So as I have mentioned before, we have the assets, the threat, the vulnerability, the impact, and the risk decisions we have made. When we are talking about qualitative and quantitative, we have the input. In the qualitative method, we go to the likelihood, the impact, the assets. So we have asset inventory that is we will go is the expert judgment. We are here, we go to the expert judgment, we go to subject matter expert like iExperts to give you a guide to make for you a best qualitative risk assessment for your company. For the quantitative, also we must have the assets so that is we can identify and understand our asset. One of our asset is the brand. Our brand is one of the most assets in the company. The asset's value, the loss estimation, the probability of having is for that, and what is the control factor we will do it. And what we expect to get any input, we have output. Uh, so that is we have in the output the risk score in the qualitative rating, heat map, priority list. But in the quantitative, we will have the expected loss. The best win here when we don't want to go financial deeply and want to understand our prioritization in our company. When we talking about qualitative, we need to understand our financial and need to understand our values. Here is the stressing for everyone. The qualitative is very fast, easy to communicate, good for broad alignment, brand alignment. Financially, for the qualitative is financially defensible, support to cost and risk trade-off. So as we told you, we go here in the qualitative risk assessment. Use the when exact financial data is limited. So that is not all the company can give you what is the financial data you can go through. So that is you have the likelihood multiplying by the impact, you have the risk score and the risk level. Here you will see that the heat map we have. The likelihood always on the left and the impact above. And we have heat map like that, and we show that is the scores or source how we have. So our likelihood, we go from 1 to 5. Our impact, we go to 1 to 5. And we understand our risk in a heat map like that. For the qualitative scoring criteria, we are almost certain, likely, possible, and rare for what will happen. And after that, we go through this like the heat map we have told you before. So someone told me when we go to 3 or 4. For 1, it is always in the likelihood it is rare. It is rare to happen in your company. But in 5, it is almost certain that it will be occur. In the impact, it is minor. It can't be effect, but it is severe in the impact when it is happened for number 5. So that is you can making the scoring criteria you have in the qualitative. Here is again the heat map we have added to understand. So the likelihood we set for the impact 4, the risk score is 16, and the risk rating is very high. Now we go to the quantitative risk assessment. First of all, we must have the assets value we have. And the assets value is containing for our brand, our person, our equipment, everything is assets for you in the company. The factors, and after that we calculate single loss expectation. And we make our rate and analyze the loss. And we have that equation in the end. Asset value multiplying by factor. As we have here the assets value, we have around 550,000. Expected factor is 40%. SLE 200,000. ARO 0.5. So the ALE is around 100,000 per year. So as we have said, the SLE is the asset value exposure factor. And we make that analysis. After control, so that is we have the risk and we have making the prioritization. We will doing a control effective. It may not go to control all the risk, but it will decreasing the impact of risk from critical or high to low or medium. So that is the risk was 20, and after we have making a control effective, it is around 60%. So that is we have the original risk, it is around 8. At the end, we always have that dashboard, and the risk register we have in our company. Here, as we go and iExperts, we have our platform iExperts risk that is going and we have that dashboard. So that is what we have in each dashboard you have. You always have the risk name, the owner of that risk, and the impact, and it is status now, it is progress or critical, open, closed, a due date, and treatment program. So that is have all we have in the risk register we have, at least. So that is, we have the risk treatment strategy, how we make the risk treatment. First of all, we have avoid, mitigate, transfer, accept. To go to each one of that, we have avoid. Avoid meaning we were stopping that. As example, we have a risk that is if we go to certain country, it may be snow. So that is I will going to that country. We have a risk that is if we use that ATM, it can be we can find a vulnerability. So that is we will not using that ATM. So that is avoid it. Mitigate that I am reducing that risk by going to mitigate it and adding something like MFA, EDR, security awareness training. So that is I am mitigating that risk. Transfer, that is I think that is that risk. It is good. I know it, but I will go to insurance company that is can handle me if that risk happen, or coming with vendor SLA that is can help me. Accept, okay, that risk I understood, but it is very uh, narrow or can't be happen. So that is its impact will not be happened now. So that is I am accepting that risk. That is for the low risk. The risk is that is have a very low scoring risk. And like that, again, any management tool you will have, you have the risk ID, the risk name, the score you have, the treatment you will add, and the owner of that treatment and the date if you didn't found it, and the date you will mitigate it. The date you found the risk and the date you will mitigate it. And of course, the status of that risk. After that, you will have and visualization your priorities like that to closing your risk. You can't close all 100% of your risk, but you can going with the 80% or 70%, but 80% is fair enough. You can go first with 80% of your risk that is can help you. Now you must understand who owns that risk in your company. Is he is the business unit leader, the CISO, the risk community, the internal auditor, or GRC. In some company, we have a community board that is can help to mitigating that risk. Now, the five things that is I want to say in almost cyber risks, we have the fifth one is the monitor and escalate risk. We will accept and we will monitor that risk. It can be go or can be decreasing. I didn't understand it well now, but I am monitor it on our SOC with our SOC team or on our dashboards. So what is the risk handling? We going with the right response after risk assessment. After we making the risk assessment, we will having the treatment decision we will make. Always we have for any risk, we have 3 or 4 ways to go through. So that is we will think about the best treatment decision we will make. And after that, we will have action plan. Of course, any plan without data it is not a plan. So that is we must have a plan. So we have a must having a date in our plan. And after that, we will search about the risk, and it will be a continuous improvement cycle that is going from first to the fourth one. I have described each one, the avoid, third party, so that is we will avoid it. and this picture showing it how we avoid. Stop using unsafe third-party system. Mitigate, so that is, as I have told you, we have a phishing, we can, someone can handle us with a phishing, can going with phishing. An employee can affected by a phishing email. So that is, I will adding MFA, batching, monitoring, backup, encryption, awareness training. All of that can be a control that is I will make and adding to mitigation that control. But the best person to say it for you, the mitigation control and the best person that is can help you is the expert. So that is you need to go to the firm. That firm can help you to making the best mitigation, and the firm always telling you the best way with best quality and the best price to make it. Transfer or share, we have this organization, we go to the insurance and we go to the vendor. Accept that risk. We have a risk phishing attack leading to data compromise. Risk owner IT security manager. Reason for accepting. Cost exceed protocol benefit with risk appeal. And that is the risk acceptance approval that is must be done with the risk owner if he will accept that. Now we have the monitor or escalate. We have the risk score like that, and we go to now our high risk. It is around 85. So that is we must monitoring and escalating our risk. You now need to understand the best method to handling your risk. Low, it is accept or monitor, medium mitigate, high mitigate and transfer, critical avoid and escalate. And that is the risk treatment decision matrix that is we used and you can use it. After that, we have the dashboard for risk treatment, the risk ID, the risk owner, the selected method, the required action, the due date, the risk target, and approval state. And at the end, we have that dashboard. For every CISO that is need a dashboard like that to tell us the risk in our account. Now we are talking about the advanced risk types: cumulative, compound, cascading, and opportunity. Of course, we have some advanced risk types matters. Risk is rarely happened. Multiply small risks can accumulate over time. Corrected risk trigger wider distribution. Some risks, of course, can make for us opportunity. For the cumulative risk, for the period number 1, we have risk taking 2 to its impact 2. But when we go to the period number 2, we found it is now 11. When we go to period number 3, it is going for 15, 19. So that is when we measuring the risk every quarter or every period we see, we found that is our risk have been going from the lower to the higher. So that is we have a cumulative risk, and we need to have action now to handle that. As we have in the week 1, weak password. Week 3, we found a delayed budget. Week 5, we found that is no awareness in our account. Week 7, we found that poor access review. Now it will found for a cumulative risk. Now we have a compound risk. We have something like cloud misconfiguration and weak access control. Cloud misconfiguration, when we have the making the risk, we taking a risk score 8 and weak access control taking 7, interaction affecting taking 5, and the compound risk we have found it is 20. So that it is really a critical risk. It is a risk that is compound from a lot of risks, and we have amplified impact here in the middle of that. If we going to compound risk example, we have a misconfiguration for the cloud and exclusive access data, exposure, and weak monitoring. We have all of that. We have a critical amplified impact. Now we have the cascading risk. First of all, we have initial failure, system outage, and this failure happened when the secondary impact, customer service disruption, and we found the third, and we have the output escalation and found a huge risk have been happened or a huge incident happened for us. So that is all happened because we have a cascading risk happening like that. Start with a single event, a trigger down some small event, and amplifier across all the area of our company, and the total explosion happen. And for example, that we can going with, we have the supplier, critical supplier experience, a ransomware incident, internal operation input and the system are unavailable, casing operation distribution, customer delivery order are delayed, and the customer committing at risk. And we have a huge financial loss for that. Now we have the opportunity. Opportunity. Opportunity risk sometimes when we have the example like that. We have a potential benefit around $3,100 and the probability of success is 60% and opportunity value is $180,000. So opportunity is one of the best things that you can do in the company. And after that, we have that huge dashboard thing that is we have the final assessment output and we found all of that course we have in our dashboard. Before the case studies, that is, I want to show you an example. Here we have an executive dashboard. And here we make our assets like that, adding our assets inventory, adding our straight catalog, adding our vulnerability registers. We have the risk registers we have, likelihood multiplying by impact and found the risk score. We have the risk assessment we have made. And the risk treatment we have added, as I have told you, the treatment ID, the risk ID, the treatment decision, the strategy, the priority we will make, the owner, and the status. And if we have a controlled framework, we can add, we have the risk roadmap where it is going, the risk threads, and the appendix we have. After that, we have the RASI sheet who will handling what in the risk. So, as I have told you, we have the industry framework that we can going to understand the risk, the NIST, the ISO 27005, MITRE ATT&CK, FAIR model, CIS control, and DORA NIST GDPR. Here we can say that is also iExperts have handling and giving all of that and having a big experts and a huge amount of experts can help you to take any of that certification and helping you for the risk register you have in your company. So what is at the end what we will calculate the criticality, the mean time to remediate, the critical batching covering, the phishing simulation failure rate, third-party assessment rate, security awareness completion. That is something called KPIs. That is, we can make it for us to measure our treatment and treatment in the rest. For any question, I am ready to hearing about from you. First of all, we will understand our risk strategy in the company. We will find it also if it is qualitative or quantitative, as we have mentioned, and if it is financial, that is, we can measure and calculating our risk as measure and refer to the risk strategy or risk register for the company or the company. So that is if no more question, I am happy to handling that webinar. Thank you so much for everything. For the question, what is tool or methodology do you recommend for continuous risk monitoring? For us, we using iExpert risk. It is a tool we have handling in our company. For other places, they use SAP or something like that in the GDPR tools. Yes, you can have that report. Thanks a lot, and I will see you in the next webinar. Thanks a lot.